Hey there, it is David Baer with winebear.net, and today we're going to talk about how climate and geography influence wine. Because ultimately, there's wine made all over the world. Some of it is deliciously ripe and full bodied and full of flavor, and some of it is austere and high in acid. And so, what makes those differences between those wines? Well, if you take a wine, looking at Chardonnay, for example, comparing apples to apples, or in this case, grapes to grapes, you want to think about how a different region is going to influence that wine. And let's do two perfectly practical examples. We see Chardonnay growing all over the world. It's a very easy grape to grow. It's not naturally high in acid, and so we may end up finding it in some areas, let's say Southern California or South Australia, which are comparatively closer to the equator than places like Chablis in the northern part of Burgundy, or even areas like Champagne, where a Chardonnay is a primary grape. Well, if you look at the differences, you have warmer climates in Australia and the southern part of California, and that means that the fruit is going to have more days, more hours of exposure to sun, and as a result, the fruit is going to get riper, and when it gets riper, well, it gets sweeter as well. During the same time, the acid level that is natural in that grape is going to diminish over the course of time. So what happens is you have a sweeter, bigger fruit, not necessarily physically bigger, but a bigger flavor, and you have less and less acid. Now, conversely, let's look at Chablis or Champagne, where we don't have as many days or hours of sun, and we also have much cooler nights in those places, which means that the plants actually get to rest. They shut down. Let's say, compared to Southern California, where you may have very high temperatures all night long as well. All right, so you have a maintenance, or you get to continue to have higher acid levels, because when the plant shuts down at night, that's going to keep a higher amount of acid in the fruit. And it may not ripen, or certainly won't ripen nearly as fully as it will in a warmer area when you're dealing with a cooler area like Champagne or Chablis. Now, Chablis is a great example of the variation in climate and geography, because it is very difficult to ripen Chardonnay in Chablis very well. In fact, there are only 5 vineyards that have reached the status of what they call Grand Cru in Chablis. That is to say that they are the highest qualitative level historically in the region. Now, there's great wine made throughout Chablis. That doesn't mean that these wines are better. What has been determined, though, over hundreds of years of Chardonnay growing in this place, is that these 5 particular vineyards, which are on a hillside, around the middle of the hillside, with a southern exposure, meaning that they are facing the sun, and composed with a particular type of soil that is reflective of the sun, meaning that the sun's heat is coming down from the sky, and there is the warmth of the reflection off of the soils beneath the vines. Well, those are going to be the ripest and most developed, what is called phenolic development, meaning that the full plant is ripening, that they are going to be the most developed vines in all of Chablis. And that is what has qualified these particular vineyards as being Grand Cru. Now, those are going to be far more distinctive and far more notable and richer and bigger and broader, because of those little details having to do with the climate and the particular exposure of that vineyard. This is the kind of stuff that makes the wine world so fascinating. Now, you can read tons more about this, and I'm sure that we will be talking to experts in this sometime soon in another video. But if you have one takeaway from this video, I'd love you to drop it in the comments underneath and share what you've learned or what new questions you've come up with as a result of thinking about geography and climate as it relates to wine. As always, this is David Baer, winebear.net. Appreciate the likes and the shares and the comments, and I will keep delivering more as long as you guys keep asking questions. Look forward to seeing you soon in another video.